On and we're ready?
They look good on TV.
All right, good evening, everybody. For the record, Thursday, July 23rd, 2020, time for the regular meeting of the Wenatchee City Council. It's 5:15 p.m. or 5:17 p.m. as we're trying to get our phone systems working today. So our first item is always a pledge to our flag. So Councilmember Harold, would you lead us from the back 40 there?
Yes, I would. Please join me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Harold, and we have 6 council members present. Councilmember Huffaker, are you on the line? Guessing he is not. Oh, I just got a text message. Is the meeting going? Yes.
We have the correct numbers.
Yes. Does Keith have a different number to call in on?
425-436-6335. 471-446.
You have the number for Aaron?
Yeah, he should have it on the agenda.
Yeah.
Right there. I got it.
Wade Detillion?
All right, do we got someone on the conference line?
Yeah, this is Wade Detillion with Department of Transportation.
All right, thanks, Wade. I'm glad you called because you made the music actually shut off now, so.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Councilmember Huffaker, are you with us? He is not yet. All right, we'll keep plugging away. He'll call in when he calls in. All right, so first item on our agenda tonight are the consent items, which includes this evening's agenda, vouchers, and the minutes from the previous meetings, and also to approve the contract with DW Excavating regarding our section State Route 285 pedestrian crossing improvement project. So I'd entertain a motion if we had one.
Well, Your Honor, I'd make a motion to approve the agenda, vouchers, and minutes from our previous meetings, and also move for the City Council to accept the work performed by the contractor DW Excavating on City Project number 1601, SR 285 pedestrian crossing improvements, and further authorize the mayor to sign the final contract voucher.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Bailey, second by Councilmember Kulas to adopt this evening's consent agenda, which includes approving the agenda, vouchers, and the minutes from the previous meetings, and to accept the work performed by the contractor DW Excavating on City Project number 1601, the State Route 285 pedestrian crossing improvements project, and further authorize the mayor to sign the final contract voucher. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. For the record, Councilmember Huffaker is with us on the phone. I heard an aye there. So we have one presentation this evening. That is regarding the Fire Adapted Neighborhood Hero Month proclamation, and I think Councilmember Cuevas has that for the record.
Okay. Here we go. Whereas Cafe, Parque Padrinos, and community partners have been working together to provide leadership education and information to build a fire-adapted community. Whereas the Climate Innovation Lab curriculum has provided the tools to develop volunteers into environmental justice activists. Whereas these neighborhood heroes now have the knowledge and tools to establish a fire-adapted community. Whereas having a fire-adapted community will provide a safer and healthier Wenatchee. It is time to work together as heroes to make this reality. Now, therefore, I, Frank J. Coons, Mayor of the City of Wenatchee, do hereby proclaim the month of July as Fire Adapted Neighborhood Hero Month in the City of Wenatchee, and I urge all residents to be neighborhood and community heroes for the wildfire season. In witness whereof, I hereby set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Wenatchee to be affixed on this third day of July 2020. Frank J. Coons, Mayor.
All right, thanks, Jose. Would you either get that to Alma, or we'll get it to Tammy, and she'll make sure Alma Chacon gets
Indeed.
a copy of that.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
you're welcome.
All right, we have a number of action items tonight, which we will deal with first, and then we have a couple of public hearing items that we'll deal with near the end of the meeting. So first is regarding purchase of property from the Wenatchee School District to build a connecting road between what'll be Maple Street and Skyline Drive. So Rob Jammerman?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll keep this quick. We've had this issue before you a number of times, both the Public Works Committee, Finance Committee. So we've been working on this for about a year. This is the purchase of the 60-foot right-of-way for the spring water extension across the school district property. We had an appraised value of the land. It also includes a drainage easement for a detention pond at the, would be the south east corner of the school district property, and it's in your packet there. And so it was appraised at $140,000. The school board approved the sale of that property on the previous meeting in June, and tonight we're seeking your approval to allow the mayor to sign the purchase and sale agreement. The funding is coming from the bond proceeds that we took for the Western Foothills, and of course this is setting it up for the future road improvements that the Triad development will be building in that right-of-way sometime in the future.
How are we doing on a development agreement with Triad?
We're essentially done with the draft. We've got a couple little loose ends, and so that's they've submitted their full plat, and so that's marching through the process. We having I think Glenn has some work session planned with you on the development agreement, and then we'll have the subdivision coming as well. So it's looking really good. So thanks to Steve over here on my left. He's done a lot of heavy lift on that. So.
Well, excellent. I think this is a great way to get a connector road in, a north-south, work on our north-south traffic movement. So I know this has been I think we've been at this for a year, and we probably started day one with this one, but
yeah,
we've been at this for a while. So
yeah, it's been well over a year, but it feels good to finally check something off the list. So.
Yeah. All right. Any questions for Rob? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign the real estate purchase and sale agreement with the Wenatchee School District.
Second. Got a motion by Councilmember Kulas and a second by Councilmember Hornby to authorize the mayor to sign the real estate purchase and sale agreement with the Wenatchee School District for property near, what's the name of the street?
Springwater.
Springwater. Some reason. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Rob. All right, so we're going to change our emergency management organization to help clarify mostly what's going on with our code and the fact that we have an agreement with Chelan County to do that work for us. So Laura, you've got it?
Yep.
Hi, Stan. How are you? Are you going to come up or just here for support?
Who's here for emotional support?
Okay.
So good evening, Council, Mayor. Yes, that's correct. That's the item that we're doing tonight. And so the item before you is ordinance 2020-18 to amend the emergency management organization, which will shift it so that now the emergency management organization is the Chelan County Emergency Management Department. Additionally, the piece about who is the director of that needs to be changed. Initially, it was the fire chief, which was changed when the fire district was created, and then it got changed to the police chief, which isn't necessarily the case because we have this contract with Chelan County Emergency Management. And so now it's corrected to be the Chelan County Sheriff. So those are the two pieces that are being changed within the ordinance. The ordinance also adopts the new 2020 version of the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan. There's been a couple of revisions to that to include the police appendix and the public works appendix, and that's sort of a drill down of some of the department level operations and logistics that would happen in coordination with the CEMP, with the full plan. There's also been a maintenance plan added to that, and so that way there's an ongoing review of all of those initiatives and any changes. And then there's also just a new format which is more streamlined and easier to implement. It has been approved by the state, and it is included in your packet as part of the review. And that's about it. So those are the three actions included in that ordinance, and staff recommends approval of that.
So the change to our code is just to not have the chief of police be the emergency management for the city, to have the actual county sheriff do that, who's doing it now anyhow.
Correct.
Okay, and then adopting the EOC.
The 2020 version of the CM.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. All right, any questions for Laura? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move that we adopt ordinance number 2020-18, amending Chapter 1.46 WCC Emergency Management Organization, and adopt the June 2020 revision of the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Harold, second by Councilmember Cuevas, that the City Council adopt ordinance number 2020-18, amending Chapter 1.46 WCC Emergency Management Organization, and adopt the June 2020 revisions of the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Laura. Laura, you want to do me a favor?
Yes.
You want to give this to Stan?
What's that?
You want to give that to Stan, and then he'll be happy that he has a signed version for the other 87 jurisdictions can do that. All right, next up is our First Street Bikeway Safety Improvement Project.
Good
Jacob.
evening, Mayor and Council. Jacob Tyler, Engineering Services Manager. I'm here tonight to talk about the First Street Bikeway project. This project's been kind of a long time coming. The city was awarded some grant funding back in 2016 to study the First Street corridor and come up with some recommendations for what that corridor would look like from a bikeway perspective. The recommendations from that study came before council back in 2017. And the city also did a pop-up event downtown on First Street between Mission and Wenatchee Avenue, showing what that concept could look like. We applied for grant funding from the WashDOT Pedestrian and Bicycle Program in May of 2018, and that funding was awarded last summer. Since then, the city's been working on a design for this project, and we put bids out, or we advertised the project on June 17th. We received 2 bids, with Rudnick and Sons being the lowest responsive bidder. From a fiscal impact, the bid was 1.1% below the engineer's estimate, but based on some design changes, we're asking for a $37,000 budget amendment. That would go to supplement the $342,800 grant that we have for this project. In terms of timeline, pending award tonight, we would expect that project to begin within the next couple of weeks. And then the project duration from that point would be 6 weeks for construction. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
So we're building little mini roundabouts down First Street, all the way down to Cheyenne, and then bike lanes all the way down, and losing a little bit of parking on the 2 blocks closer to Wenatchee Avenue.
Correct. So you can basically think about this project in 2 segments. One is Miller to Chelan. And like the mayor said, it's traffic circles at each one of those intersections. From Chelan down to the pedestrian bridge, we'd be losing parking on one side of the street in order to accommodate bike lanes in both directions, as well as a buffer strip. The parking on the south side of the road would remain in place.
And I know that the council has seen drafts of this and talked about it for quite some time. I know Travis has been involved with some of the downtown folks, so thank you for doing that.
I'll make one comment. I know that from Miller to Chelan, the residents are excited about some traffic calming along First Street as well as all the arterials. So yes, this has been presented as a bike safety, but I think the residents are excited about some traffic calming along there as well.
All right, any questions for Jacob? If not, I entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion that City Council.
Jacob, it's council member Huffaker.
Yeah, go ahead, Keith.
So on the lower part of First Street, the 2 blocks that we were looking at losing some parking, I appreciate all the efforts you guys have put in there to make that work. I think that was a good way for us to be sensitive to those downtown businesses. I'm kind of curious. I got your drawing earlier, but I haven't had a chance to look at it in detail. But I'm curious, the planters, are they permanent at this point, or are those removable?
They are removable. And so during the community outreach piece of the project, there was some interest expressed in having those be able to be removable for the
Criterion?
criterion. Thank you. I couldn't remember the name of the bike race. And so
You
those will
keep
be
telling
able
me
to.
it's Springwater, and I'll tell you it's Criterion. We'll get this working. Yeah.
Yep, routine here. So yeah, those will be able to be removed. Also in the wintertime, if there was interest in having those taken out, it's an option.
Perfect, thank you. And then, so does there end up being any parking on those 2 blocks at all?
Yes, there is. Parking on one side of the street.
On one side, okay. All right, hey, thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks, Keith. All right, Travis?
Okay, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion the City Council approve the project budget amendment, award the construction contract for the First Street Bikeway Safety Improvement Project number 1914 to Rudnick and Son LLC in the amount of $283,054 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract document.
Second. You got a motion by Councilmember Hornby and a second by Councilmember Kulas to approve the project budget amendment, award the construction contract for the First Street Bikeway Safety Improvement Project number 1914 to Rudnick and Sons LLC in the amount of $283,054 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract documents. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Jacob.
You're welcome.
Oh, and you're doing some flat work. What's
Yep,
going on?
I'm here again. So last year in May, I came before you to award a contract to Black Forest Finishing to perform concrete flat work, basically to supplement the work that our city crews do. And so the concept was, if our water crew were to go out and need to do some work on a meter chamber and our streets crew wasn't able to restore the concrete around that chamber in a timely manner due to increased workloads, we'd be able to call on an outside contractor to get that restored quickly. So that contract expired in May of this year. The 2020 city budget has about $100,000 earmarked for replacement of select concrete roadway panels. And then there was also some interest expressed from the maintenance crews to continue having a contract in place that they could go to if, their workload didn't allow them to do something in a timely manner. So the city issued a request for bids on June 30th and received one bid, again, from Black Forest Finishing. This contract's unique in the fact that it's not they bid on the work as a way to establish a common basis for award, but it's not a guaranteed amount of work that's assigned. So it's just on a task assignment basis. It could be anywhere from, like I said, just a little bit of concrete around a water meter chamber to some concrete, there was concrete replaced in front of Centennial Park, so longer stretches. So the type of work can really vary in terms of magnitude, but it's a nice tool for our crews to be able to draw upon.
Okay. Any questions for Jacob? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion for the City Council to award the construction contract for the unit price concrete flat work project number SW 2004 to Black Forest Finishing in the amount of $295,585.50 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract documents.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Esparza, second by Councilmember Cuevas, to award the construction contract for the unit-priced concrete flatwork project number SW20-04 to Black Forest Finishing, in the amount of $295,585.50, and authorize the mayor to sign contract documents. Any discussion?
Jacob, just a point of clarification. the contract amount here, that's the maximum amount that we can
So it's a
charge against them, I guess, is the way you would say it. So you have these different projects, you call them, they go do it. But this is, at some point, this is the maximum amount that they would be eligible for.
So it's a small works contract, which has an upper limit of $350,000. And so the contract is also a 2-year duration. And so it'd be either a $350,000 limit or a 2-year contract duration, whichever one happens first. Again, we could use it for $1,000 or we could use it for $350,000.
And this is all already budgeted for.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the various funds.
All right, any other questions for Jacob? All right, so all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Jacob. All right, Oliver. Got some CARES funding to help with rent assistance.
Yeah. Good evening, council. Good evening, mayor. Yeah, tonight I'm here, Oliver Crane, Housing Programs Coordinator in the Community Development Department. I'm here to share with you all about a new funding source that we were notified about 2.5 weeks ago for eviction prevention and rent assistance.
Gary Arsenault.
This funding, it comes from the state through the CARES Act funds they received. It's approximately $1.2 million. The exact amount is on the report there. And it's earmarked specifically for rent assistance. So the goals of the funding: prevent evictions, also provide a targeted response that addresses some of the equity and disproportionality of the COVID-19 outbreak that we've been seeing. So people who are being disproportionately affected by the outbreak and are having the burden placed on their households, as well as people who have complicating health conditions and may need additional financial assistance in order to stay housed. So a unique thing about this funding is the amazingly short window we are being given to stand up a program and spend this funding out. We're essentially expecting Commerce to award the funding starting July 29th. We were supposed to receive the application today. We did not before close of business. So I'm anticipating we'll be seeing the application next week, hopefully, because we are moving against the deadline of October 31st to spend about $1.2 million on rent assistance. There are some criteria with this program that are important to keep in mind. Commerce is very much about targeting this rent assistance towards those households that are most likely to become homeless if they are evicted. So households have an income limit of 50% or less area median income. They must be paying 30% or more, or not 30% or more, but more than 30% of their income going to their rent and at least 1 month behind on their rent. Additionally, to further those goals of targeting those folks who may are the most likely to become homeless, there's additional criteria there, including having a pending eviction, previously homeless in the last 5 years, disability, or at risk of a severe illness. So part of the program, it reimburses landlords up to a specific amount, up to 80% of the owed rent, or it'll compensate landlords for the full amount that's due at the fair market rent, which is usually lower than the market rent amount available. It can prepay rent for up to 3 months, and it can pay back rent as well through the end of the year. So another allowable expense with this funding is outreach to make sure that it gets out and is known throughout the community. So Commerce has notified us that up to 5% of this award can be used for that. So everything we're working off of here is like a preliminary program outline. We have no firm guidelines. We don't know what the administrative reimbursement amount is for this grant or specific budget categories. But with such a short window, we wanted to bring this to council and request preliminary approval for the mayor to enter into contract or contracts with entities who can distribute this assistance or raise awareness of this assistance throughout Chelan and Douglas counties. We met with the homeless Housing Task Force for Chelan and Douglas counties on Wednesday and brought to them the recommendation that Community Action be awarded the administration and management of the rent assistance program component, which would be the bulk of the funds, and that if needed, up to 5% of the award be set aside for marketing and outreach, especially with community-based organizations who can perhaps reach out to those populations in our area most impacted by COVID-19. So those were the recommendations we presented to the Homeless Housing Task Force. They were accepted, and so the action requested today on that second bullet point, you'll see enter into a new agreement or agreements between the City of Wenatchee and Community Action and other subgrantees recommended by the Homeless Task Force. We're working to identify that. Community Action's already in the process of identifying how they're going to market this funding, should it be awarded to them. So they've been doing some preliminary kind of conversations. And so we're talking with them about the need for that additional marketing capacity as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have about this assistance.
I have a question. You mentioned that this is to start July and we have until October.
Yeah.
In the packet, it said we were to receive the money, but it didn't say if we received it yet. Do we actually have it?
No,
Okay.
we do not. And it'll
When is
probably be
that?
on a reimbursement basis.
Ah,
So we will be having our grantee bill us, and then we will bill Commerce for reimbursement. Additionally, one of the things with the funding is that Commerce has pretty strict performance targets about making sure that demographically, the money is targeted towards, proportionally towards the same demographic proportion living in poverty. So if 40% of people living in poverty identify as Latino or Hispanic, then in a performance metric, or the number of households served should match that. If we aren't matching that, if we aren't on track, we stand to have 50% of the funds not open to us. They may reallocate it. So it's something that we're really looking at hard as we're examining marketing, and that's where that 5% flexibility comes in to contract with organizations who can help raise the word and get the assistance out there.
thank you.
Oliver, at this point, any word from Commerce about the, I guess it's the eviction moratorium that was scheduled to expire in what, end of August?
August 1st.
August 1, okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you
And that's another deadline we're working against here too, is that if we're trying to stand up a rent assistance program, and you may know better than I do, we haven't heard any which way or the other what the governor's thinking is on that. And so we want to be ready in case that hits, so that when people need that assistance, they know exactly where to go and they can immediately get help.
So I guess my question is how confident are you in meeting those metrics so we can get that full funding reimbursed?
I'm confident in our process, in that consulting with Community Action, where they're identifying their strengths and the areas they need help, that we can step in and help coordinate and set up those partnership agreements with community agencies who are well-versed in reaching out to their communities and spreading information and bringing people in who could use that help. So I'm pretty confident we can set up a good process and we have those conversations going.
Thank you.
So it looks to me like you're asking for either two motions or one that's combined, one that authorizes me to enter into a grant agreement with Commerce.
Yes.
And then the second being authorizing me to enter into sub-agreements with others to help manage the program. Is that
Yes.
right? Sort of those two bottom dots on our page?
Yes.
Okay.
And those others would be for certain Community Action and other agencies yet to be identified for no more than 5% of the award. And if not needed, that would revert back to Community Action for rent assistance.
All right. Any other questions for Oliver? If not, I think we need a motion that sort of adopts those bottom two bullets on our page.
Your Honor, I will move to enter into a new grant agreement between the Commerce and City of Wenatchee for the Eviction Assistance Program funds and a new grant agreement or agreements between the City of Wenatchee and a sub-grantee or sub-grantees recommended by the HTF Homeless Task Force to manage the program and distribute assistance to households in need.
Second?
Motion by Councilmember Harold, second by Councilmember Bailey to Authorize that I enter into a new grant agreement between Commerce and the City of Wenatchee for the Eviction Assistant Program funds, and that we enter into a new grant agreement or agreements between the City of Wenatchee and a subgrantee or subgrantees recommended by the Housing Task Force to manage the program and distribute assistance to households in need. Any discussion?
I want to come back to the moratorium, whether that's extended or it's not extended. If it's not extended, I mean, this is going to mean a lot of what I'm reading and, and seeing is that, the landlords are lining up, and I guess my concern here is how quickly can, I guess it's a two-part question. I mean, how quickly can assistance be given? I mean, if they came in and, into the office and presented their application, can you cut them a check today, or is it 2 weeks or a month before they get the money? So that's, I guess, the first question. And the second part of that, I guess, is do we have, the ability to get the word out that quickly? I mean, we're talking about, what, next Friday?
Yeah.
Is the 1st of August. That if the mayor doesn't extend this, there's going to be the floodgates are going to be open here.
Absolutely.
And so I guess my concern is how quickly how nimble are we to be able to respond?
It's an excellent question. Since this entire lockdown eviction moratorium situation came into place, staff has been doing a lot of coordination with our current homeless prevention providers. They do the prevention rent assistance to identify key components of our current referral system that were barriers and to remove them. So we've tried to streamline our processes. We do have rent assistance in place right now. The city is currently managing a set of grants that run until June 30th of 2022 or 2021. So that funding's in place. So it's there to be accessed by households in need. The particular criteria are a little bit more stringent in that it's 30% AMI, whereas this is 50% AMI, but it is still there to help households. In terms of how quickly can we turn this around, there is, of course, the administrative part, which we will do our best to expedite and make sure that we cross our T's and dot our I's along the way to get it out the door as quickly as possible. But that's part of the pre-planning we've been doing with community action, those conversations where we say, if this is awarded to you, what steps are we going to take to get this started as quickly as possible? The awards won't start until we get an application. We haven't got the application, and that was supposed to be today. So, and then the slated date for awards to begin was June 29th. So at this point, the timeline's being moved back. So we're absolutely going to do our best. And in the interim, in that 2-week gap, we're raising awareness that community action will be the administrator of this award should that award go that way. And our current system is in place to assist people if necessary.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, hopefully that answered all your points.
Yeah.
All right, any questions for Oliver? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Oliver.
Have a good night.
Good work. All right, so we have 2 public hearing items tonight. So for public hearings, we will first hear from our staff, and the council will ask questions of staff. We'll then turn over to the public for any comment they may have, and then back over to the council for any action. The first is regarding our 6-year transportation improvement program. The second is regarding a vacation of a portion of city right-of-way, commonly known as Haran Road. So we'll deal with our transportation improvement program 6-year tip first. So City Engineer Gary Owen is here. Gary, floor is yours.
Thank you for the introduction. I don't have to explain myself. This is something you all are used to, except for Councilmember Cuevas and Councilmember Hornby. I don't think you've been through this. So just real quickly, you've got your agenda report here that I provided to you. It's pretty canned, basically from one year to the next. As far as the reasons that we go through this, it's statutory. It's for funding purposes, a number of different purposes. And what we got here together in this year's tip basically represents, last year's tip minus 13 projects plus 14 projects. So it's one project longer than last year's program due to projects that Jacob and company are doing a great job of getting out the door and getting completed, and changes in needs that we have and grants that we're going after and that sort of thing. So I don't typically go into all the details, otherwise we might be here for quite some time. I'll pretty much leave it at that, other than we have taken this to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commissioners have looked at it. They didn't have any particular. The one question I think that I got regarding the tip was they were wondering if the Confluence Parkway was still on there, given what's happened with infra and that this year, and it is.
Yeah, it's on there.
It is on there. So.
Just because we didn't give infra doesn't mean we're giving up.
No, absolutely not. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all may have if I wasn't explanatory enough for at least you new guys.
A lot of projects on here. Do you have a total dollar amount of the projects? Someone add them all up?
Well, if you added them all up, yeah, I think it's in there, my fiscal impact. It's approaching $350 million. We're not going to get $350 million and spend it all in the next 6 years, but we'll do everything we can to get everything we can.
Well, I guess the comment I would like to make, Gary, is it's really kind of a thank you to you and your staff and all the stuff that you guys have to manage and try to get as much as we can. Since I've been on the council, and saw the first one of these, it's never ceased to amaze me how many things there are to do. And wish we had more funding to do more of them. But again, thank you for keeping this process going and getting a lot of good stuff done in our city.
Well, thank you. We could do a lot more, break it into a lot more categories and fiscally constrain it and do some things like that. But, until there's a need to go further with that or a desire by the council, this is kind of the way that we've been doing it for some time.
All right, any other questions for Gary? All right, any members of the public wish to address the city council on ordinance number 2020-17 regarding our 6-year transportation improvement program? Hearing no takers, I will turn it over to the city council for any action. I think the ordinance is actually the third item there. Or number 3.
Your Honor, I would make a motion that the council approve ordinance number 2017, adopting the annual comprehensive street plan for the ensuing 6-year period of 2021 through 2026 without modifications as presented to us.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember Esparza to approve ordinance number 2020-17, adopting the annual comprehensive street plan for the ensuing 6-year period of 2021 through 2026 without modification. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
And our final public hearing item tonight is regarding the vacation of a portion of right-of-way called Horan Road. And I think we've got a couple of members of the audience on the phone. Gary Arsenault, are you on?
Yes, I'm here. Thanks, Frank.
And Mr. Detillion, are you on?
I'm here as well.
Good. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Gary, are you presenting this?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent, okay.
I'll take over. I have, this one not going to be quite as clean as the last one. You got your agenda report here that I provided to you. We've got a final ordinance on this thing. A couple of technicalities have cropped up. One that we knew about that if you decide to pass this tonight, Mayor, I'm going to need to give you a little bit of direction on a slight modification to the vacation area.
Okay.
The other one being the DOT has asked me in an email and on the phone today if the council would consider continuing the hearing so that they can figure out a little bit better how it impacts their organization. And the DOT has, or the PUD staff has been working with the DOT staff. So we're a little bit in the middle of it. We've done our noticing and everything that we're supposed to do. Unfortunately, we don't have an obligation to understand all the exact details of this vacation area. Just the legal part of it is half of the vacation area basically goes to the guy that owns on this side, which is the PUD, and the other half goes to the half on the other side, which is mostly the PUD, but a little piece of it up by the end is actually the DOT, it looks like. So the DOT has some interest in this. They didn't know about it until last week, so they're going to probably request that to have a little bit more time to understand the impacts to their organization. With that, I think in my agenda report, made it, hopefully it's fairly clear. You can understand what the right-of-way vacation area is, where it is out there.
Yep.
I would have a modification if you decided to go forward with this tonight, and Mayor, I'll work with you on a modification
Why don't you just go ahead and tell me what that is right now, just so we get that out, so so the people at home can hear it, and then we can debate it.
Working with the PUD staff, Public Works staff, we have asked them to basically move the northerly limits of this right-of-way vacation 33 feet south of what it's shown on the exhibit. So we would want to modify the exhibits to reflect the northerly limits being 33 feet south of the southerly right-of-way line extension of the old station road, if that makes sense.
So that, in essence, would leave the old station road right-of-way intact with that modification? Is that why that?
What it does is it gives us a little piece to the south and keeps a little 33 more feet of Haran Road, which would give us room on our own right-of-way for our maintenance vehicles to turn around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that's all about. And the PUD staff is fine with that. It doesn't impact their plans, and they've got some mighty big plans on going forward with their new headquarters facility down there on that property.
All right, any questions for Gary? I know just before we turn it over to the public, I know we've been talking about this off and on for the last year and a half, maybe longer, as the PUD has processed this out there. So didn't know the specifics of who owned what on what side, other than the PUD. I was interested in the vacation of the property. So I'm glad we've got it this far, not new to us in terms of from the 30,000-foot view of what it is we're trying to accomplish and help with. So I guess if you don't have any questions for Gary Owen, I will, so we've got, I guess, two folks on the line. So Gary Arsenault, do you want to go first? And then we'll turn it over to whoever else is on the line.
I think, I would just want to say that the PUD has worked with DOT and continues to want to move in that direction to resolve the issues, and the issues really are not insurmountable. Just a matter, I think, of timing, that the DOT needs a little more time to meet their requirements, and PUD is willing and would pledge to provide them adequate time to meet all the requirements necessary for DOT to feel comfortable with the vacation of the property and to achieve what is required on their part to make that happen.
All right. Thanks, Gary. And who else is on the phone with us today?
Yeah, this is Wade Detillion with the Washington State Department of Transportation.
Yeah, Wade, go ahead.
Okay, and I just basically repeat what Gary said. The DOT just needs a little more time to review this and make sure we understand the full impacts to the SR 285 highway there. There's a particular location, a couple hundred feet on the north end of Haran Road, where there's a retaining wall, and that's our primary concern behind this. We're certainly not necessarily opposed to the vacation. at all. We would like to continue to work with PUD as well, and just need a little more time to come to a resolution here on how we can make this work. So we would, DOT would just request continuance.
So I guess I got questions for, I guess, both Mr. Arsenault and Mr. DeTillion. The city council is meeting tonight in a public hearing. We don't meet next Thursday or the Thursday after, so our next regular meeting is sometime mid-August. I don't know the exact date. Mr. Arsenault, I was under the impression that the PUD was in a hurry for this. Are they not?
Yes, thank you, Frank. Yes, we actually are in a hurry. What I would ask for this evening is that City Council approve the vacation of the property, and that allows the DOT and the PUD to work at whatever pace is required on the DOT's part, but certainly would speed things up in terms of moving forward. So we are anxious to move forward, yes.
All right. Just wanted to make clear about that. Okay, does the council have any questions of the folks on the phone, either Mr. DeTillion or Mr. Arsenault? Don't hear
No.
any questions at this point? Okay.
I mean, I have a
All
question.
right, well, thanks.
Right,
Yeah,
Frank, if I could just say one thing, just for clarity's sake for the council, and that is that the DOT and the PUD are both in favor, I think, in favor of vacation of the property. It's just a matter of the DOT having adequate time to achieve their final study, and the PUD has pledged to work with the DOT to make that happen for them on their behalf and do it in a satisfactory manner. So I think that the council facing the question about vacation tonight, just to understand both parties are asking for vacation of the property. We just want clarity on the part of, for the council to know that we're both working cooperatively together to make this happen.
okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Gary.
Mayor,
Yes,
Yeah, Mayor,
go
could
ahead,
I-
Wade.
speak for Wade DeTillion again. Yeah, I want to make clarification on DOT side. Once the vacation happens, it is complete. So I'm not sure that our position right now is that we agree to the vacation. We don't want to stop progress. We want things to move forward, and we want to work with PUD. But we also want to make sure we have the time to address anything that could affect DOT in a negative light or a negative way along SR 285 there. So I understand PUD is in a hurry and they want to get this done, and we certainly don't want to slow that process down. But at the same time, we really weren't made aware of the vacation until last week. So we've had, from DOT side, we have had very little time to review the impacts that a vacation might have along there.
All right, thanks, Wade. I guess I do have a question. Let's
Well,
ask
I had a question
Steve.
for Mr. Owen.
Okay.
So a vacation, is this essentially a 60-foot wide right-of-way? So 30 feet goes to the east and 30 feet goes to the owner on the west, which,
Correct.
for a good portion of this, Flan PUD owns those two parcels. However, there's this
Little piece,
this little square that looks like that would go to the, the state of Washington.
30 feet, it would be in the upper left-hand corner
Right.
of your exhibit where, and you can see where the shadow where
Yeah,
that
the
wall
little
is.
apex. There's a mark there. Well,
It's just north of, there is a call out for an
Right.
engineer station
Yeah,
there.
there's a station there.
It's from the northerly tip of that triangular shaped piece of PUD property
So
on the west.
So I guess my impression is that if there are Washington State Department of Transportation managed facilities in that Haran Road right-of-way that's being vacated, that would go it's under the city's management. The property is owned by, it gets transferred to the Department of Transportation. So their facilities themselves, if there are any in that right-of-way, just the underlying land reverts to them.
Correct.
That adjoins their.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the question with the wall is a little piece of the, part of that wall basically could become their responsibility with that 30 feet. It hasn't been accurately surveyed or anything like that yet. So, and the wall is old and it holds up the highway and nobody knows what kind of agreements exist as far as who's responsible for the
But the
long-term
wall's for the
maintenance.
state highway.
Yes.
Oh, well, I know whose responsibility it is.
But the other thing about the way this ordinance is drafted, and I was going to ask Steve Smith this, so that it authorizes the vacation subject to the receipt of payment from the PUD. So if you guys approve it tonight, it's obviously going to take a while for the PUD to write a check. They're not going to write a check unless they're comfortable with their agreement with DOT. So it seems like we're covered from the city's perspective that none of this becomes effective until a later date anyhow. Not sure how much later it's going to take for all that stuff to happen. So it seems to me that we would adopt the ordinance tonight and then continue to work through the process for the PUD and DOT to do their thing. And it doesn't become effective until a check shows up. If a check never shows up, then we never vacated the property and we'll go back to square one. So it almost seems like it's no harm, no foul to adopt it this evening and sort of move it along. Mr. Smith, you're looking at me with strange eyes behind the mask.
Can't see my face.
Uh,
Well, you are correct, it isn't effective until they pay the money. But they, I mean, it's possible they can pay the money right away without having to work out a issue.
But you wouldn't buy a piece of property without clean title. I mean, well, you wouldn't, others might, but yeah, yeah. So I don't see the negative of just going ahead and having it happen today. And obviously, we continue to work with them, and we've got the authority to put all this stuff together and let DOT and WashDOT work together on what their solution is.
Like Mr. Kulas said, the effect is not to take anything away from DOT, they actually end up with ownership, they're part of the right.
Yeah,
I don't see where they lose.
yeah, they're gaining property, yeah. And the issue is how does the PUD and DOT work that out?
So, and I would just add that if you do decide to go ahead, I would like to make a modification that I think the PUD would be supportive of as far as moving that northerly limit 33 feet south in the exhibits to the ordinance.
Okay. Looking to Councilmember Kulas, who would be good at making those sorts of motions.
Well, if we're done with comment, I would make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 2020-20 as presented, with the exception that in the legal description attached to that ordinance, that the northerly boundary of the proposed vacation be moved parallel 33 feet to the south in the description, and that description will be revised for the mayor to sign.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember Hornby to adopt ordinance number 2020-20 with the exception that the northerly border be moved 33 feet to the south. Any discussion?
I would have one question. I guess I'd like to just on the record that ask the clerk whether you received any objections.
Clerk, have we received any objections in writing? For the record, the clerk has said no. All right. So we've got a motion, we've got a second, we've had discussion. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Mayor's report. I've got a number of things on my report, none of which I've written down, but some of it will be similar to stuff that we've talked about in Finance Committee today. It's been a very interesting week. Financially, I think the first thing you may have seen today was some sales tax numbers came in. I don't know if you've seen those. They came in pretty flat compared to the same time last year. I think the initial reaction that would be good because those are May numbers. But I think, as Brad and I have talked, and Laura and I have talked, the negative 24 and negative 22 that we had the last 2 months probably really weren't negative 24 and negative 22, because you didn't have to pay your March taxes or your April taxes until May. So we always thought those were artificially low. And I think we believe that this one was really artificially high because of that. And you can sort of see it in the numbers. Although you did see, again, strong with our hardware stores and home improvement stores. The car dealerships are back doing what car dealerships do. So all of that was sort of positive, but we're still trying to get our hands around the fluctuation and what it really looks like. And I think, so I don't want you to think that, well, we're back to normal, because we don't expect that, just the way that folks have been reporting. So I think the car dealerships are having a tougher July because there's no inventory right now. They quit making cars, they sold them all in May and June, and there's no cars on the lots in some other places. So anyhow, it was sort of interesting. We're still trying to get our hands around what all of that sort of means. We did have a call with Chelan County regarding our jail contract for next year. They have a different methodology for calculating how we might pay for our guests. Needless to say, it's significantly more money than what we've been budgeting or expected, so we've got quite a bit of work ahead of us, and it's just a fundamentally different way of doing the calculation. So I did talk with the mayor of East Wenatchee, and they're looking at almost 100% increase in charges for them. We're looking at a 30% increase in our fees, and magically the county only is getting an 8% increase in their charges. So it's interesting math. Needless to say, we've got a long ways to go to get this one to the finish line. So on just a couple other things. So I've had some conversations regarding our environmental work on Confluence Parkway. We're trying to plug that $700,000 gap. So we are going to make a request to Link for some money, probably in the neighborhood of half of that. At their board meeting, I did talk with Commissioner Steinberg yesterday or the day before, and he was supportive. So I'll keep talking to other members and see if we can get Link to help with some of that. I did informal request to the port today for some money as well. I'm not trying to pick on those that got huge amounts of CARES funding, but I guess I'm picking on those that got huge amounts of CARES funding. So I think Link got $7 million, and they're getting 2 more for $9 million, and the port got $18 million. So sort of going where I think we can get stuff done. So meanwhile, we are sort of plugging away at it. We really haven't stopped, and so hopefully in the next 4 to 6 weeks, we'll get some positive on some of those and see if we can keep the NEPA funding. We got to get that to the finish line, so the next round we'll be right back in the middle of it. Laura, help me with other stuff. Okay. I think those are sort of the big things. I know Brad started to work a little bit on budget. He's got an audit going on. Lots of construction, Rob, out there. I mean, I saw him pouring sidewalks today. One of the handicap ramps somewhere.
Part of our preservation program.
Yeah.
3.7 million contract. Jacob's got the 9th Street parking lot going down here.
I saw a little bit of work down there. Okay. Okay. All right, council members, anything for the good of the order?
Well, I'm working with Laura, David, and Brooke to
Okay.
work with the concession stands that we're supposed to have for the Manhole Park.
Okay.
We're working to see if it's going to continue or not, and we'll see what's going to happen in the future.
Good.
So,
Yeah, when we accepted when whoever accepted some of the grant money, there's restrictions on the use of the park to be a park, and that doesn't generally mean that Mark can bring his taco wagon out in the middle of the park and sell tacos. And so trying to figure out a way to get some of that in the neighborhood, but not violate the covenants that came with some of the money. So we're working with Jose and I think Ruth some and Laura and then Teresa Bendito and some of those folks to try to figure out how we can get it close but not violate. I think they've got a couple ideas. So.
The Museum and Cultural Center Board met this week, like everybody else, struggling through how we do all this stuff. You might recall that the Museum and Cultural Center was the recipient of a capital grant from the state, and that was one of the few that was not axed. And so they're proceeding with that, and there's some asks of the city since we own the property, and I just wanted to say that they were very complimentary.
Here we are, Snow.
The assistance that they were receiving from Ms. Merrill. They were very complimentary to that, so I wanted to pass that on.
I know that she worked really hard on trying to figure out, we have to assure them a 15-year lease or a 20-year lease.
We're going to hang on to it
And we
for a
got
long
this
time.
big, long agreement, and we were going to do it this way, but East Wenatchee had to sign, and so I think we finally have a paperwork trail that will make the state happy, that'll make the museum happy, and Laura's been working on that.
And this is intended to be a capital project to improve the local exhibit area.
Yeah.
So it's physical there that will improve the.
So you'll probably see something at the next time we meet. I'm sure we'll have that contract ready by then, so. Anything else for the good of the order?
Just real quick, from the Health Department Board, we had a discussion at our last meeting about potentially going to the different governmental agencies for money so that we can fill our coffers, just because what we've realized throughout this whole COVID thing is that the health department has been really underfunded for many years. And
So is that state funding, county funding? How do they get their money?
It's a combination of.
It is,
of
yeah.
State and some federal grants, I think, and
Yes,
then
yes.
local contributions.
So is there like on my property tax bill, is there a health
No.
department?
It's,
Nothing?
I think most of the local funding comes through the counties. I think.
Yeah, the local funding, but anyway, the discussion was that we may reach out to the different local governmental agencies to,
Okay,
pull it up a little bit.
yeah.
What really whacked public health was, some of you might remember the old days of the motor vehicle excise tax that we had before the $30 thing, and it funded Christmas ornaments everywhere, including public health.
Okay.
And then when that went away, that was a huge cut to public health in the state.
And it's interesting now that we got a COVID-19 pandemic going on, how much you rely on public health and their expertise, and it's the sad time to see them perhaps underfunded.
It is.
And Bruce, I was on a call with Mr. Buckles today, and he mentioned a number of times how underfunded they are for what they're being asked to do right now.
It's to the point where several of the staff at the health department, they wear 2-3 different hats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to, keep the engine running.
And I saw the latest, again, another couple of items. I mean, our COVID cases, if you're watching, those are going up. And then we did get a call today from Walmart's information folks, public relations folks. So they are closing Walmart they closed it at 2 o'clock today, going to reopen it Saturday. They had 21 positive COVID cases with some of the employees there. So they're going to have professional sterilizers come in, an outside company, and I don't know if they're restocking shelves and what they're doing, but they'll be back open apparently sometime on Saturday. So we got that notification early this afternoon. And I know the governor made some decisions today. I don't really think they affect us in Chelan and Douglas County. It appeared it was mostly those that were in phase 3 having to sort of back up to phase 2.3 or 2.4. Of course, we're at 1.9, so I don't think any of the things that he mentioned today will have a direct impact on at least what's going on in terms of what's legally available to be done. There's just a lot going on with people visiting this area right now, from whether it's Chelan or our hotels are full on the weekends. I guess all the mountain bikers are coming over here to mountain bike, and so I think you're seeing a lot of activity in our area, and with it magically comes some of the disease. So still got to watch that really closely.
I attended via GoToMeetings, the homeless task force on Tuesday, and what we were talking about is exactly what Oliver presented tonight. We'll be meeting again in 2 weeks to go through that, and working with Sandra and Oliver and Glenn on that application. I want to commend them. They've done an excellent job, and new information's coming out from Department of Commerce like minute by minute. They're just getting flooded with stuff. And so they really don't know too much about what the final application is going to look like and how to do it.
Yeah. Well, at least we've adopted it, and hopefully it gets there and we get some money. And
Absolutely.
we did get our
I
first
appreciate your
request
support.
on the CARES funding, so we asked for $700,000 for repayment of employees that didn't work during some of the timeframes, and Brad tells me the wire showed up today. So of our $1.1 million reimbursable grant, we got $700,000 today. And most of that ends up in different various utility funds and other funds. Not much of it ends up in the general fund. All right, anything else for the good of the order? So we do not meet for 2 more weeks. So it's the 5th Thursday and the 1st Thursday magically. So Laura says it's August something. I don't know the date. 13th? So if you need anything, you know how to find us. And
Yep, we know where you're at.
yep, so we're adjourned.